Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. Boy, do I have a beautiful flashback edit to show you guys today. Joe Biden, Scranton Joe, Uncle Joe, or as he likes to refer to himself, Middle Class Joe. An interesting claim that is. Joe Biden claims everyone calls him Middle Class Joe. I don't think I've ever heard that before, but I certainly know that he calls himself that. This guy, he's the biggest scoundrel on the frickin' planet, the biggest snake, the biggest liar ever. And that's really the topic of this video. You know, I'm always going on and on about how they tell us that Donald Trump is such a big liar, but somehow, at least in the media, at least in left-wing circles, Joe Biden gets away with his history of lies. Well, no longer will we let that stand. Joe Biden's getting exposed as the biggest liar in politics. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, I just stumbled upon this amazing edit from Maze. I'm sure you guys know who Maze is. Here's the Maze account on Twitter. You should give it a follow. Well, just take a look at this.
All my time in public office, I've been referred to as Middle Class Joe.
Joe Biden likes to call himself Middle Class Joe. He's called himself that more than 500 times.
Middle Class Joe. Time in public life, from since I've gotten involved, I've been referred to as Middle Class Joe.
This handle I've been given a Middle Class Joe.
Everybody calls me Middle Class Joe, and just a middle class guy. It was embarrassing. Bernie Sanders' net worth is more than mine. I mean, I have less money than a socialist. I don't know what the hell happened. Kid who just climbed out of a coal mine with a lunchbox from Scranton. I'm the kid from Scranton.
Middle Class Joe.
Middle Class Joe.
Middle Class Joe.
Middle Class Joe.
I'm Middle Class Joe. I know they call me Middle Class Joe.
I know I'm referred to as Middle Class Joe. Called me Middle Class Joe. Yes, good old Joe.
I should have had a Republican kid. So when they put me in a home, I'd have a window with a view. You know what I mean?
My mother and father dreamed as much as any rich guy dreams. Absolutely. They don't get us. They don't get who we are. They're going to put you all back in chains. He cares about the middle class. Give me a break. That's a bunch of malarkey. This guy doesn't have a clue about the middle class. Not a clue. I know I'm called Middle Class Joe.
Biden and his wife Jill reported earning $11 million in 2016 and $4.6 million the year after.
I made a commitment I'd never own a stock or a bond. I'd never be involved in a business venture. I'd never accept an honoraria. And my net worth is what it was when I started, $55,000 to $150,000.
He's the biggest frickin' liar ever. Did you catch that one thing he said? He said his net worth was between $50,000 and $100,000? Did this guy seriously make the claim not too long ago that his net worth is the same that it was, in the 1970s? Or maybe the 1980s? Oh, Uncle Joe, he's so middle class that he hasn't even saved a dime. After 50 years of public service, old Joe believes he deserves to suffer in poverty. Does anybody actually believe that? Well, what can I say? I'm Scranton Joe. My money never grew because I never bought stocks. No, stocks are for the evil, rich, orange people. I'm so poor, in fact, I'm poorer than the socialists. I mean, what the frick? This guy owns multiple, multi-million-dollar beach houses. He drives a very unique Corvette from the 1960s that, I don't know, must be worth over $100,000, maybe even more. All of his kids go to the best schools, have the best vacations, but we're supposed to believe that Uncle Joe never saved a dime and never made any money outside of politics. How completely absurd. But really a more important question, how are you not pissed that this guy keeps lying to you? I mean, he does it so brazenly to your face and says the most ridiculous things. He's never owned a stock. He's never even ran a business. He says that as if that's a good thing. I've never done business deals, but let me engage in business deals with foreign nations and let me run the country, which is essentially a big business. But I'm not a business guy now. I don't even know what a business is. That's how middle class I am. What a freak. And it's especially worse hearing this stuff when we know that yes, Joe, you never held a stock, you never owned a stock, apparently, but you certainly owned a crackhead son who was on the board of Burisma and strong-arming Chinese billionaires into giving you multi-million-dollar payments. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, how absolutely absurd. This guy's a freaking Looney Tunes character at this point. A Looney Tunes villain. He is the most disingenuous man in Washington. He is the biggest liar. He's been doing this for decades, looking people straight in the face and telling them what they want to hear, exaggerating the truth to the furthest extent that he thinks he could get away with it, and of course all the while being the most duplicitous man you could possibly imagine. Oh, I never engaged in any business, especially not with those Chinese. Oh, and especially not with those Romanians and those Mexicans and Ukrainians. No, we never took any money from the wife of the former mayor of Moscow. That never happened. And what's this I'm hearing about Qataris? Oh, that's fake news. Even though it was just revealed that there's now new details about Jim Biden's foreign fundraising efforts that indicate that President Joe Biden's brother partnered with a Qatari government official in his quest to find money for a U.S. healthcare venture, one of which Joe Biden later received a check from. Remember the unexplained $200,000 check that Joe Biden cashed? It was supposedly a loan repayment, and we learned that it had something to do with the healthcare venture. Well, there it is. Jim Biden was funneling money from the Qataris, and it was making its way to Joe Biden's bank account. Who needs stocks when you send your family members as corrupt money-grabbing mules? No, well, clearly Scranton Joe doesn't need any stocks, because he's a real middle-class guy, making $16 million in a single frickin' year in 2016, followed by another 5 the year after. That's Scranton Joe with a net worth of $50,000. This guy is completely friggin' insane. I've never seen such a liar in my life. And you know what? We rarely do this, but I'm just gonna play a clip that featured on Fox News the other day. And I'll preface the video by saying Joe Biden is the biggest liar I've ever seen.
And they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea.
For real. It's always followed by a for real, or it's true, or I'm not joking,
right,
or it's not hyperbole. So Biden's account is that his uncle, who's was part of a World War II crew, shot down, of course, not supported by any military reports or records. The Pentagon doesn't mention anything about cannibals, nor is there any evidence suggesting it. So maybe it was family myth and family lore. Yeah. I don't know.
He's worked a blue-collar experience during his Irish, Puerto Rican, Greek upbringing. You said it,
Will. He's Forrest Gump.
Besides, I used to drive an 18-wheeler. About 1:30, a container ship struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which I've been over many, many times commuting from the state of Delaware in our trainer by car.
I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto.
Okay, let's go through these. This is Forrest Gump.
This is great because the White House had to come out and say, officially confirm that Biden never drove an 18-wheeler.
They couldn't confirm that he ever...
They confirmed that he didn't.
Drive an 18-wheeler.
Never drove an 18-wheeler.
Think he sat in a semi-truck cab once?
He drove a school bus a couple of times. And he once spent a night riding in a cargo truck, but he was not driving it. So you spend one night, and now you're an 18-wheel driver.
He says he took the train many times or the car over the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It doesn't have train tracks.
Well, he's Amtrak Joe. He should know, right? It doesn't have any train tracks.
He says he was arrested in Soweto. You know, this is in South Africa. There's no record of that. By the way, he said he was also arrested, as we pointed out, during the civil rights movement. No record of that as well.
Yep, that's Joe, the biggest liar in politics ever. I mean, I don't think there's anybody even remotely close to him, especially considering he's been in office for, over 50 years or almost 50 years as a public servant, lying through his rat teeth. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.